Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest CADS podcast. We are here to talk about the North London derby and everything that happened and try and see if we can find some brightness and joy in our lives because that game didn't give us much. Sadly, we're going to be losing A very, very quickly. So while he's here, I'd just like to get his thoughts. Quickly, A, what have you got to say to us tonight?
I'm sitting here a day later and suitably melancholy. I didn't enjoy that. I think we've seen in the last few games. I thought we had progressed, and even though we had some bad results, I thought we could. There were some grassroots that were
Suitably
still popping up,
melancholy.
and this time,
I didn't enjoy that.
it's the same errors coming back again.
We've seen
Whether
in the
it
last
was
few games, I
with
thought
the
we had
selection, the message
progressed,
sent
and
out
even though we
before
had
the
some
game,
bad results, I
Mhm.
thought
there were some
the subs
subs that were
gradually
and we
still
just
popping
didn't
up.
lay
And
love on them. We just
this time,
we
I
didn't
didn't
stress
enjoy
them.
that.
It didn't feel
I think same
to
errors
me
coming back
watching on
again.
the
We've
telly
seen
whether
in the
it
last few
was that it
games,
was
I thought we
a
had
North London
message
derby. There
sent
was
out
no
before
blood
the
and
game,
guts, and
results. I thought
partly
the
that's
there was
the ref
some
booked every time
subs.
somebody tried to do that, but we didn't get in their faces at all. And for me, it started before the game. This is just another game. I understand what he was trying to say. You should approach every game with the same vigor. But I think from a man management point of view, I would get them up like crazy for this game. And then after this game, tell them this is how what it should be for every game, rather than the other way about. And I think that it set it, it set the tone for a insipid, tepid performance. And there were some positives. I thought Porro was good. Kulusevski was amazing, and Van de Ven was very good. But the rest of the team, I'd give them fours. If we had to do ratings, we had three eights and 11 fours, and the subs didn't do anything. And I was just so I knew we had basically thrown in the towel when Werner came in. What was
That
the
was
point?
that was
Point of Werner
astonishing.
coming in? And I was like, yo, maybe this is, we needed to do something different. We needed creativity. We took off Madison, who had an average game, and we put Werner on, who did nothing.
Well,
Uh,
Werner is the answer to the problem in the following case and only the following case. You're 9-0 up against a team and it's becoming embarrassing and you don't want to score any more goals. That's where you put Werner on.
he made one key pass, and Arsenal almost scored because it was a key pass for them.
Oh, it was a wonky
Um,
pass.
yeah, and one brilliant block that Sar
Oh,
shot
yeah,
looked like it might have been going
Oh,
in.
yeah, I
So he
remember
made a
that.
block and a key pass.
blocked Odegaard. Yeah.
Romero was shocking, and I saw the tweet and the deleted tweet about the travel arrangements and having a fever, and I just felt for Dragusin. I said,
Yeah.
imagine a guy travels halfway around the world. He has a fever. He's conceded 3 goals almost individually in the last
Hmm.
4 games, and you still sit on the bench. What message does that send? I would
You
like
do
to know
have
that
to,
message.
you do have to worry that his play seems so rock solid, even when he's not doing well. And if he's got a fever,
Yeah,
he should not be playing. I
definitely,
mean,
definitely. Just he's a brilliant player, and I love him most of the time. But he's got to get his stuff together. And I think when you're not playing well, and you had a guy who had a really solid game, you give him a chance, especially because they were missing their creative outlets, right? And
mhm.
if you look at Spurs and you think, how do we concede? We concede on the break, or we concede from set piece. And if you look at Arsenal, that's how they tend to play. And I know it'll take a brave man to drop Romero for North London derby, but that's what we paying the big bucks to him for. Make brave decisions. I thought Dragusin is a amazing defender at set pieces, and that would have helped. one of their threats, and and him and Mickey, we have yet to see them together, so maybe that was the problem, but they've had enough time to train together. But it's easy saying in hindsight. I'm just very disappointed in our application to the game. Yeah, it feels like we've taken the fans for granted again by putting in their performance. And yeah, Ange can say what he wants to, but I doubt he's the one in the factory or at work the next day and getting ribbed like this. Yeah, not a nice experience, but yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't think Ange would be happy with that performance in any shape or form. He doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who would accept the kind of performance that we saw, which lacked any real passion, which lacked any kind of attacking verve. I mean, we had attacks, but there was lots of tippy-tappy stuff which was just keeping hold of possession for possession's sake. That didn't seem to be much. It was like, okay, we're going to actually do something to really have a thrust and go for goal here. And there seemed to be points where we could have done that. We could have really gone for them, but we just held on the ball too long and that opportunity passed us by. I mean, there was at least 2 opportunities in the first half where I was screaming at Porro to release the ball to Brennan Johnson quicker. Play it in front of him, let him run onto it. He's one of the fastest players we've got. Give him a ball to chase. Stop giving it to him to feet. And we keep making that same mistake. Now, maybe Ange doesn't want us playing that way. I just think it's a tool.
Our passes are so slow and pedestrian.
Yeah.
We had an awful lot of trouble playing out from the back yesterday. And one of the main reasons for that is Vicario playing a very soft, slow ball out to a defender. And by the time it arrives, he's already got someone on his back. And that defender's then playing a soft, slow ball across to QT. By the time it's not crisp enough. Even playing out from the back, it's so slow and ponderous, right from Vicario's foot, and then all the way up the pitch.
And you know what got me, David? It looked like it got slower after we conceded. It felt like we actually, took a step backwards, and when it should have been, maybe we were scared of, getting hit on the break and it being ugly, but
it's even playing out from the back. You can't play out from the back playing at 2 miles per hour. You get closed down immediately. You've got to play it really fast, hard passes, fast passes. And, the guy's got to be able to trap a ball at that speed. If they can't, they shouldn't be on the pitch. Or we should stop trying to play out from the back. If we think that the player can't control a ball if it's going above 5 miles per hour, then drop the player immediately. And that's building from the back. We put ourselves under so much pressure, especially the last 20 minutes of the first half was awful. It was awful, fanning around at the back, no sort of guts at all. Jeez.
Guys, I gotta go. Before I go, I wanted to say that I saw in the chat, maybe people think I wanted to Ange out. I don't. I don't think we need another change. But I do think we need to see some flexibility from him, or we're going to be into a difficult season. And I think that's all I was getting at. But yeah, we're called, and I hope it turns around. And you guys have a great pod. We'll chat soon.
Thanks, man. See you soon.
Hey.
Yes.
So, Charlie, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you. That's good. I noticed that you've had such a bad time. You've taken to drink.
Yeah, I mean, the European way.
We're the ones in France, and you're drinking straight. Yeah, there we go.
Well, that, by the way, that is just a water bottle, disguised as a wine bottle.
Yeah.
It's usually the other way around. It's usually a proper water bottle. There's vodka disguised as a proper water bottle. But no, it's Monday here, and it was a good weekend. But anyway, how are we doing?
I'm conflicted. I'll be honest. I'm conflicted. I didn't enjoy the performance. There were bits of the game I thought okay, there's stuff here to see, there's stuff here to look at and go, okay, we're doing quite nicely in these areas, but I think nicely was the way. There's far too much niceness in the entire performance. If there was any edge, it was on the Arsenal side. If there was any grit, it was on the Arsenal side. And when it came to going for goal, Arsenal were better at it. We had one fantastic chance, which Solanke passed up in the most unbelievable manner. The only reason I can think that he passed it up in that manner was he just couldn't believe that the ball was going to get to him in that position. So any other reason, a Premier League striker should take one touch and just bang it.
Raziak would have scored that.
Defoe, I mean, we were talking about Jermaine Defoe earlier.
Oh, Defoe would have had that at the back of the net. But I mean, even a shit
taken a lever off that.
Yeah.
And maybe he's not fully fit. There is still the question of is he still fully fit? Maybe he's not. But if he's not fully fit, should he be starting the game? This game?
Yeah, but Stu, even if he's not fully fit, he's standing like in their penalty area, completely free, and the ball comes to his feet. Even if he's got one leg, I'd expect him to get a shot away. I'd have to fall over doing it, but at least get a shot away. At least make someone save instead of arsing around and getting closed down. Wow.
I might point out there was another opportunity in the second half where Son was basically on a penalty spot, and the ball came to him in a kind of the way that it has done to Mickey van der Ven last year and Basuma this year, where it gets passed sort of across the penalty area. And you just somebody's going to shoot at some point. And it just seemed like, we were very ponderous on that in that sense. And it sort of speaks to me like there is a lack of balls, a lot of cock and no balls with what's going on right now. And people, the ability to pull the trigger when you need to pull it and really, really will that ball to go in the back of the net seems to be completely absent. That's maybe the occasion. I do feel it is inherently what we're suffering from in this, early start of the campaign where, in Leicester we had a lot of chances. Newcastle, a lot of chances. Just the willingness to put it in the back of the net doesn't seem to be there. I don't know why that is, but I will point to our attack being a little blunt, and the recruitment being either bedding in right now. We're putting a lot of pressure on Odegaard, a lot of pressure on Solanke, although he is proven at this level, albeit for one season. And Son, I do believe we've seen the best of Son with Harry Kane, and I think that Harry and Son were the reason that Son was so good. And since he's gone, we don't see the same sort of shots into the top corner, both feet from the edge of the box. It just seems to have completely. He seems to have completely lost that. So our attack and our midfielders don't contribute, especially Maddison. And you know how I feel about Maddison. And this is just going. I'm just being cutting at this point, but I do have a much more sort of philosophical view about what's going on. It does seem to me that we've been let down over the summer, or there's a plan that hasn't been completely transparent to the fan base. And I think that the frustrations that we're seeing directed towards some players, which I think is disgusting. Poor Brennan Johnson, I feel that's just I think he's deleted an Instagram account. There's just no excuses for abusing a player who's that young. Big price tag, a lot of pressure on his shoulders. We may know that he's not got the confidence right now to be on top of his game. He does score goals. He did for Forest a lot, and it's not fair on someone like that when really the grave frustration I think with the fan base right now is the lack of transparency as towards the plan. Because for me, it doesn't seem like there was we pulled the plan off in the summer. It seems to me like, unless that was the plan, in which case, and this is the confusing bit for me, if it wasn't the plan to bring seasoned, proven players in to make an impact in games like yesterday, and nothing coming off the bench, at all, no plan B in that sense, then I can only assume that either the plan wasn't pulled off in the summer, or the plan was to bring in a lot of youth and then over the next few windows substantiate that with proven players. Either way, I'm not quite sure why Ange has been so adamant that he can challenge for silverware this year. If in a game like Arsenal yesterday, there was no one coming off the bench, these, Bergvall and Archie Gray.
Yeah.
These players for now, if not, why didn't they come on? If we couldn't break down Arsenal yesterday, and I thought Arsenal played brilliant considering what they were up against. I'm not someone who hates Arsenal for the sake of hating. I look at them. That was a really mature performance from them. They knew exactly what they're doing, they knew exactly what we would do, and they pulled it off, and we ran out of ideas. And it was brutal. But just back to what I was saying, like I think so much of the frustration right now that's now getting pushed onto the team, on Ange, is simply that we're not sure. There's confusion as to what the plan is long term.
I think there was a plan, and I think we're part way there. I can't look at this team and go, that's the team that Ange wanted to start this season with, and expect to challenge for things. I mean, there's still January, there's still work to be done, but you look at that side and it still seems a little bit off balance to me, certainly in the defensive side. I know Sergio Reguilon has been signed for the Premier League, but I mean, do you honestly think that Sergio Reguilon will start one Premier League game? Even if Udogie was injured, I don't see him starting.
Well, I don't know, because I'm sorry, I'm going to say, I've touched on this like a number of times over the last few months. Udogie's a really good defender, really good football player. I don't think he's producing anything at all in the inside inverted winger role, and hasn't been since the beginning of the season. I think even last season, I think he looks good, but what does he actually produce from the midfield positions he gets into? What does he actually produce? For me, not very much. Really, I wonder why we're bothering with the inverted winger, with the inverted fullbacks. He's a really good player. I'm not getting on his back. He's a really good young player, but when he gets into that sort of inside left forward midfield role, he doesn't do anything. Nothing happens. Nothing really. Nothing ever happens. Well, I mean, he does get given the ball, but he often cycles it backwards. I don't think he's not getting the ball. When he does get the ball, he doesn't get his head up. He doesn't get crosses in. He doesn't get interesting passes in. He's not doing 1-2s. It's a bit sterile, like most of our approach play. But I think Porro, even if he's not perfect, is far more effective than Udogie is. Far more effective. And I'm like, I've got to be honest, I'm starting to be a little bit worried that like Udogie, that's his ceiling and that's how good he is. And I think we need him to be better. I'm not digging out Udogie for yesterday's performance, just like because we were talking about that sort of player. Just I'm not convinced actually anymore.
I think we've seen a lot better from Udogie in the past. Certainly, start of last season, he was looking a real player, and I think that's dropped off a bit. I don't think we're seeing the same level of performance. And for me, part of that might come down to where's his competition. I mean, who's pushing him for his place? Is Jed Spence the guy they're expecting to push him for his place? The guy who's a right back and hasn't done very well when playing over on the left? Is Ben Davies, who, love Ben Davies, good Welsh lad, as I'm sure Ash would appreciate. But he's not got the legs to play that inverted fullback position, hasn't done well when he's been asked to do so. So unless you're going to play Sergio Reguilon, who, again, doesn't look like an inverted fullback, who are you going to play? Who's pushing him for his place? And there is no one, which is why I think potentially we were looking at the guy from Brest who got injured, picked up a cruciate ligament injury, and because of that, we weren't able to bring anyone in because that was the guy we were looking to make come in and make the difference and push him for his place. But now no one is doing that. And because no one is doing that, he feels a little bit too comfortable. And I think too comfortable is a position a lot of our players are in right now. Ash, what are your thoughts after that game?
I guess I missed all the really hump stuff in the first 20 minutes, 25
No, I
minutes.
was
thought they
enough
got warmed
hump.
up. I thought they got warmed up, yeah.
Dave, did you let loose?
No, not yet.
No, he's been relatively calm.
You missed a.
I'm actually, I'm totally over the Arsenal game, and I'm more interested in the Coventry game. I actually went to that cup final in '87, went all the way from Toronto there, and we blew it when I was the guest of the FA and everything. It was great. It's a great trip, except we couldn't win. I am really interested in that on Wednesday, and the reason being is that I hope, I trust that Ange will start incorporating some of these younger players to start. Listen, I'm just going to ask a question. Is Mikey Moore still with us?
Yeah.
Okay. So we got Mikey Moore, Gray, and Bergvall. Jed Spence perhaps will start. I want to see these guys. I think Charlie was making mention of it. Sonny and Madison, they're not the future of our team, I don't believe. So I would like to see the future. They're not listening to us. I would like to see the future being shown on Wednesday. Let's see what they can do, and it's just not one game. I hope they can be examples in other games to come. Cup game perhaps next week. I don't know if there's a Europa League game next week. I want to see that.
Week up,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
we've
wanna
got
see that.
Coventry, then Brentford, and then Qarabağ at home.
There you go. This is what's giving me optimism is to see these young guys who will be hungry and will not put in these somewhat mediocre performances that Sonny and Madison and some others are putting in. So that leaves me positive. I'm looking forward to that.
The concern I have with throwing in youngsters for the cup game is last year we rotated for the cup and immediately got knocked out. And
that was a big rotation, though, Stu. That was a huge rotation.
I mean, yeah, you're talking
9
about a decent
players.
rotation as well. So
9 players. I'm talking about 3 maybe.
yeah, well, I think we might be looking at 5 or 6. But if Ange doesn't take it seriously and drops out the cup, then that's one cup opportunity gone immediately.
Yeah.
And
Coventry, but he could still win something this season, which would be the sack race.
The which race?
I mean, he always wins something in his second season.
Which race?
The sack race.
The sack race.
Ooh,
he's not getting sacked.
There's a bit of a hump. Hey, there's people on CADS who are calling for him to be sacked. Come on.
Yeah. No,
Who's
I'm not
calling for him to be sacked? I don't think anyone's
I
calling for him to be
I
sacked.
don't think anybody is.
Oh yes, I think so. I've stayed off those other social media platforms because even worse. I mean, you could just see it in the headline. Yeah. All those podcasts, Irish Hotspur, the guys from We Are Tottenham, not Barnaby Slater. You can just see it in the headline. You don't have to listen to it. You can see it in the headline, you know. So yeah.
It's the panic switch that always seems to get pressed when there's a good plan involved. I felt very confident in Conte going into this season that he was backed somewhat in the transfer window, and then it seemed to be within like no time at all the wheels came off. The plan was there. The plan seems to be here right now. I bet that, I mean, you can't bring all this youth during this transfer window where we had so much time to prepare for it, so much time to bring in people who were suited to Ange ball, and then we put out a team that Barcelanki, who almost didn't make it, was exactly the same team as last year. So, Ange himself has said, I need different players, and yet we line up against Arsenal, the same players, and we don't even change the team to any different players after we hit their brick wall, on the biggest brick wall in the country. You know, proven last year, best defense in the country, I believe Arsenal's was. And we needed a plan B and we didn't have it. And it's not just Ange's plan B, it's the plan B with the players. And if Bergval and Archie and they're our plan B and they don't get brought on, and they were brought in the summer to make a difference now as opposed to then Ange's been let down. And there's you have to admit Ange's been let down. And if you get sacked, it's not his, in that sense, it's only his fault if you didn't impress that he needed these players more.
Mm-hmm.
And if he didn't impress that he needed these players more, that's his cross to bear. But at the same time, why would somebody like Johan Lange or Daniel Levy, knowing that the manager is putting out this idea that we've started planning for next year in January, which is what they said. We need a bunch of different players, which is what they said. Players who are more suited to my system, they said. Why would we then sack Ange? Unless, it seems to me like we're punishing the wrong people here. Like it's the regime that somehow is. I don't know. I really am. I'm at a bit of a loss here because there's some kind of breakdown that we're not getting told about, and I can only assume there's a level of, I don't know, rhetoric at the top that we want to create this great team, and there's really no. It's just a business, and we'll roll over a Bergval to a Real Madrid, or we'll roll over a Romero to Real Madrid, Archie Gray to whoever wants him, in 3 years' time, and that's the business model. And he's just sort of fluffing us up with, the hope that this team is going to. I think he fluked with Pochettino. Pochettino just somehow inherited this bunch of players who were ready to just go, and he just had that missing, that missing component. Dele Alli, 5 million, turned into a $120 million dollar player, within 3 seasons. Like that for him, I think is what lights Daniel Levy up. I don't think he's going to go out and buy these players that we need, especially.
Yeah, like I said last podcast, apart from the fact that I accused Levy of basically reducing the wage bill this summer, I think that was his objective. And we got Solanke because it's 65 million, and that's a lot of money. But in fact, Solanke, I don't think he's good enough. And 65 million is probably not going to get you the kind of player that is good enough. Harry Kane went for 100 million with only 1 year left on his contract. That's what players go for in that position. Well, I'm not giving up on Solanke yet. I'm not convinced he's had one good season out of 7. Okay. And we've paid 65 million for him. But in fact, we probably should have paid 100 million for somebody that actually is what we need. And, it's the same all the way up and down the team. I'm all up for buying youth for the future, but we needed to be buying youth for the future and improving the first team. We have not improved the first team. We said at the end of last season that Maddison is too weak and not consistent enough and not producing enough. I think we said that when GLC goes, we need to buy somebody that will push Maddison onto the bench and force him to fight for his place. We didn't get that. We said we needed a number 6 that can, punch people in the balls when they mess up and like get in people's faces. We didn't get that. The key positions where we needed people, we didn't get. We needed like a tricky, dribbly winger. We got King Werner and Odegaard, who actually sort of had some nice flashes yesterday, but never actually looked like really putting them in difficulty. But he's a youngster. I'm not getting on the youngsters. I'm not Enoch out. I'm starting to become Levy out because Levy is not the man to take us to the level we needed to go. We need someone to take us from a top 4 finishing team to a top 2 finishing team. And Levy doesn't want to do that. He wants to keep bringing play. He wants to be what's it called, the money ball.
David, I think he can do it on his previous model. I think he looked at it and went, I cracked the code with Pochettino, and that'll work again. So long as I get this sort of charismatic manager in who keeps the fans on side, and bring in the odd absolute bargain. The fact that Dele Alli, gave us 4 or 5 seasons of that magic, for 5 million, it was just astounding. And I think that He was generational. Everybody knows Dele Alli was generational. You know, there was something special about him. None of these players have that. They wouldn't. They haven't. They haven't got it. You know, and you know, I hold out hope for Bergvall. I do hold out hope for Mikey Moore. But he's been like Mikey Moore. Sorry, the other one,
Alex Gray. Archie Gray.
Alex Gray, yeah.
Archie Gray, yeah.
DMT, you know, and all that. But I just wonder what Levy's doing sat up in his, you know, ivory tower there that he's created. You know, he's got a passageway that goes right from his office into the flipping top of the stadium. I mean, it's just, he sits there and he goes, what? He goes, you know, this is the team that I created. And, you know, the instant feedback he gets from 62,000 fans is just, it's just like, you didn't get it right again. Like,
yeah.
This is an Arsenal team that were there for the taking today. Everybody had high hopes. Nobody even wanted to draw. And it was such a disappointing. The fact that we had no ideas, you know, there was no shifting gear. The crowd couldn't lift the team because I think there's a resignation. I sat here on the couch and I'm like, there's the goal. We're not going to get one back. Nothing on the bench is going to help us out here. And we know that. And I think that we have to be transparent about that to ourselves, that we're not there. If this is an experiment, if this is a process, then we have to give Ange time and hope that we see some, you know, alteration in tactics or just some sort of organic way that playing so many games back to back to back to back to back is going to, you know, make this team gel or fortify them. Otherwise, Ange won't be in a job by November. That's just, we all know this is the way, and it's so sad. It's sad.
Yeah, it should be Levy going in November, not Postecoglou.
But realistically, we know Levy's not going anywhere, is he?
No,
Levy's
I know,
not going to
but
step aside.
I'm not talking about what will happen.
And no one's coming in to bail us out in terms of coming in and making a huge, what's it? He's asking for £3.5 billion or something to buy the club.
Yeah.
No one's coming in
Yeah,
to do
like
that.
I said, I'm not necessarily any out. I'm Levy out. Levy is not going to take us to the level we need to be. And by the way, you know, we might get Bergvall and Gray and Odegaard. They might come off, but by the time they come off, Van der Ven will have gone, Cutie will have gone, and Udogie will have gone, and Porro will have gone, and we'll be buying 16-year-olds, and they'll be good in a couple of years' time. And by the time they come good, Bergvall's gone. You know, I'm pretty sure that Solanke will still be there, but you know.
To say about that, David, it's like it's interesting because Van der Ven is world class. He will be. He is now. He's a unique defender, generational defender. Romero is a World Cup winner, the double copper winner. You know, Porro is clearly a very good player. Udogie is already in the Italian team. There's no doubt that our defense is top, but you can get defenders for 35, top class defenders for 35, 40 million. No problem. If you look at the diamond that we had at the top of the team when Pochettino was in charge, I can't remember how much got Ericsson for. I think it was 13 million or something ridiculous. Dele was 5, Harry was nothing, and Son was about 17. That's a $35 million pound strike force that was world class, and that was a complete, you know, happenstance of 4 people coming together. You know, you just said rightly that you cannot get a great striker of this level unless you shell out 80, 90 million. Apart from Haaland, who obviously just had the choice of everything. He just, you know, that's a different situation. But, you know, even look at Grealish. Foden came up through the ranks. Doku, like, we're not attracting these players. We're not willing to pay them big wages. We're never going to have that attack that we had before. Until the next time we just fluke 4 players together like we did.
But we also don't have the hunger, because you talk about Pochettino. The other thing about Pochettino was, and this is all the way up until the end of the season before we got to the Champions League. So for most of Pochettino's reign, we pressed the hell out. We were so aggressive out of possession. Out of possession, it was a team with a mission that went and hunted down their players and got that ball back. You know, we lose possession now. It's not the same. A couple of times I've seen us do good pressing, but it lasts for a couple of minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes maximum. And then it's all sort of soft. It's all soft. It's just so soft. I mean, uh, I don't understand it. The mentality isn't there. These are not
Right.
players with something to prove. These are not
Right.
players that have got something to prove.
Can I make a comparison to another league and another sport? And it has to do with Levy and the fact that what I think we're number nine rated by Deloitte in the world in terms of revenue. There's a team up in we emigrated to Toronto. There's a team up there called the Toronto Maple Leafs, the hockey team. They are and they're in Canada, not even in the US. They are the most valuable NHL hockey, professional hockey franchise. To show, and they have sellouts every game. There are lineups to get in to see the Leafs because it's only what 16, 17, maybe 18,000. There's lineups to get in. And yet, so they are making money hand over fist. They keep new players, new coaches. They have not won the Stanley Cup since 1967, and yet they continue. My thought is that maybe there is a point there that the fact that we're rolling in the dough, and what is the incentive to win? Like with the Maple Leafs, the fans certainly want to win, but they don't. And with Spurs, what? The league, 61-62, or is it 66 or 60-61? And I'm wondering if it has become, I think it was already mentioned, such a business that it just de-emphasizes the actual aspect of winning something for the fans. And that maybe the fans, if they're going to come, well, great. Well, you guys are not rebelling. You're still paying. So what does it matter?
Yeah, Levy keeps his job and he keeps his, what is it, £2.5 million salary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not even including his bonus. He's getting 4 million a year or something in total.
Yeah. So he's got no incentive. His incentive is to balance the books. Like
he goes to
massively.
every game. He goes to and he goes to away games as well.
That's
he goes
true.
to every game and he watches the team, you know. And I think as fans we've just become accustomed. We became so accustomed to just like every year we were like a shoo-in for the Champions League for 4, 5, 6 seasons, and there was no doubt about that. It was whether we were going to, you know, compete, you know, within the league, and was the main thing. And you know, I think we became accustomed to being one of the top teams in the league, and you know, as soon as that painful rebuild that Pochettino said we needed, you know, and he got fired, and you know, he saw Mourinho waiting, and he was like, right, we're going to take the next step up. The plan really should have been to just give Pochettino what he needed and just kept going. He had it.
Absolutely.
He went for the hot chick, you know. He did. I've said this before. He went for Angelina Jolie, and he had Jennifer Aniston, and you know, we all want Jennifer Aniston back, but you know, he went to the dark side, and he's paying for that right now. Like, he's trying to recreate what he had with Pochettino. He knows that he got that on pennies on the dollar, that team. You know, he sold Bale, he bought 7 players, 1 or 2 of them, you know, hit. Ericsson probably the biggest, you know, in terms of what he gave us as a, you know, football club.
Extraordinary player, yeah.
And then out of nowhere, this guy's bagging hat tricks for, you know, the under 21s. He makes it into the team, you know, becomes the biggest goal scorer of all time. You know, and Delhi, 5 million, unbelievable. It was Paul Mitchell, wasn't it, who got him from Don? Just incredible.
Recommended by David Pleat.
Pleaty, wasn't it? David Pleat, yeah.
He was a Pleaty,
Really?
Pleaty recommendation.
Yeah, Pleaty.
Yeah.
Again, it's like you have to invest in that front line, otherwise we're never. He has not invested in the front line. Odegaard was a poor man's Desiree Doué, or a poor man's Nico Williams. Like, if we were a serious team, we would have got those players in. We're not going to break down Arsenal with Odegaard. With love, he's 19 years old. You know, Timo Werner. I think everybody knew the level of our ambition this summer when Timo Werner was the first through the door. And Solanke, yes, he's sort of proven for one season, but he wasn't the best option out there. and as we've said before, you need to spend 70, 80, 90 million if you're going to get a proven goal scorer here. So it's just the investment in defense is great. Our defense looks amazing. The fact that we can't get Dragusin in the team is criminal. You know, that's an Ange thing. He's a great defender. He would not have let that happen yesterday. It's bizarre that he's not playing to me, and there's only a matter of time before he just goes, kicks up fast and goes. And then through the midfield, you're talking about big players. You know, Declan Rice was 100 million, and then the rest. I just look at the attack and I'm just like, where's that goal coming from? And all of us know that goal was coming from nowhere.
Yeah.
The penalty area was chock full of Arsenal players. Every time we got the ball, we let them all get back. We played it around the back, played with all those players in front of us. And
you know, going back to Brennan Johnson, you know, and you know, is Brennan Johnson actually been given the ball in the way he needs to receive the ball to succeed? No. He keeps getting the ball to his feet or just behind him, you know, at low speed. There's nobody. Wow, this is another thing we said. The number 6 needs to be able to shout, and he needs to be able to ping diagonal passes out to the wings in front of the player that he can run onto and use his speed. Giving, you know, it's not Brennan Johnson's fault that he's receiving the ball to feet, and by the time the ball gets to him, he's got somebody on him. You know, and okay, you might hope that, you know, that he's going to trick his way past the player and make him look like a gimp. Okay, but that doesn't happen very often outside of Billy the Fish. You know, it's you know, it's the problem's not Brennan Johnson. The problem's the way we're playing. We're rolling the ball slowly between players, 2 feet, and you know, there's only, I think, who was any good yesterday? Decky was. I thought he was great yesterday.
Decky was good.
Yes.
After that, I'm
Mickey.
sorry, Van der Ven, maybe Porro. Maybe Porro. And even Decky, by the end, he was doing absolutely bloody awful crosses into the box. But I think it was just desperate by then, you know. You know, and I look at it, I'm thinking, okay, so next time we play a Premier League match, do I want to see Maddison start? I don't think I do. I really don't think I want to see Maddison start.
When you're all down with my Madison. With my Madison battle.
No, I've been.
Careful, David. You'll be putting Romero at number 6 in a minute. So you just.
Well, I think something's going to happen to Romero. He's just gone. We've all seen this happen. He'll go. Anyway, sorry, carry on, David.
I think.
No, I'm just trying. I
think Dragusin plays 2 of the 3 next games.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
I think Dragusin plays. Dragusin comes in for Romero for next one against Coventry. I think then we see Romero back for Brentford, and then we'll see another change again for the Karabag game. So it's up to Dragusin in the games he's got to make himself indispensable.
Yeah,
and that's not an easy task.
Stuart, what you're saying there, you're right. We have to change. We've got 7 games in the next 24, 5 days.
Yeah,
it's
like busy.
Yes, it's
crazy.
Busy, yeah.
There's no disguising. There's no hiding from our transfer policy this summer at all. We're going to have to play those players. They're going to have to come in. We're going to see some jostling. And to be honest, when I look at the way that we play, especially against Arsenal, if Arsenal knew that we were going to play the way we play, and they just like park the bus, which they did, and everyone that does play against us, they park the bus. It's kind of a compliment, you know, that they do that. I'm sorry for the dings, but I think that our game plan is going to get stretched to the point where teams are going to feel that they can attack us more instead of just on the counter attack. That gives me hope that we might be able to play against teams that are a little bit more stretched out across the pitch, because the biggest thing that I've seen, Leicester, Newcastle and everything, they hit us on the counter attack. We all knew it was coming, and we could not get shots off, and we didn't have the players to put in the back of the net. And I think that with a little more space, a little bit more, give the team a little more confidence, other teams more confidence to come and attack us, I feel we will get those gaps to play through their midfield into players like Johnson, who can then play their natural game. And we might see a different style of Spurs that's less controlled, less possession, hopefully, because I'm sick of seeing 70% versus 30%, 1-0 down. I just like
Yeah.
it's the biggest misnomer in football. You haven't got those attacking players who can unlock a crowded penalty box, and there's no point in having 70% possession because you're always going to
Absolutely.
lose by the odd goal.
That's what Barry
So,
Mead, Ashley's favourite. Barry Mead said it. You know, sick of the he's a possession manager, Ange, at the moment. It's not an attacking manager.
It's not
It's
an attacking manager.
we
It's a
hear about
possession.
Ange's expansive attacking football. What I'm seeing is not expansive attacking football. It's tippy-tappy football. It's like Barcelona of 10 years ago, except without Messi. You know, with no fulcrum, nobody. Oh, that was a good word, wasn't it? Nobody to like make the difference at the end of that.
Matters.
Yeah, I'm going to go and look it up later and see what it actually means.
So, on the positive side, there were two things that have come up that I've looked at and gone, okay, that is positive. There was a graph out today, and I do love statistics. I mean, literally, it says on the shirt, geek. Do love a good statistic, and it was stating that there was a table, and it showed the regularity of shots against and the regularity of shots taken, and we were right up in the corner for the lowest number of shots against and the highest number of shots taken. So we are taking shots, they're just getting blocked or missing or whatever. I don't think they're high quality chances, and you can see that from our expected goals. Our expected goals is very low, but up there with us was Manchester City, Liverpool and Brighton, who we are playing soon, and I have to say Brighton worry me. The other thing that I found really interesting and gave me a little bit of positivity recently was I listened to, first of all, the View from the Lane podcast, and then the Lab, which is the spin-off from the Fighting Cock, and both of them had the author from the recent biography of Ange Postecoglou, who's written Ange Ball, and this is a guy who's followed Ange all the way through his career and talks about him and talks about what has done, what's worked for him, what hasn't worked for him, and the progression of things. And he says, you know, I can see everything that's happening at Spurs has happened at other clubs, and the last thing you need to get right is that final third attacking play, and it comes. And when it comes, when it all comes together, it's going to be great. He said, you know, there are set piece issues, there are injuries, you know, there's a little bit of getting to know each other. You have all of that in the early days of Ange, and it's taking a bit longer because you're doing it at the very highest level, but it's going to come. And you look at it and you go, okay, now I feel a little bit more comfortable on what I'm seeing. I really hope he's right.
Copy out to everyone in the stadium, you know?
Yeah, can we, yeah, just get, yeah, sell it in the club shop. Hopefully it's with the right publishers, because otherwise it don't sell in the club shop. Yeah, I hope he's right, because I really like Ange.
Stu, like, if that's on broadcast, like that has been on broadcast, so why are fans still? Why can't we see that, you know, wider perspective, that 33,000 feet? What's missing? I feel that Ange is constantly on the defensive, you know, in these relentless presses that he has to do of his system, and you know, I feel it's tough on the guy.
Well, I reckon he'd have an awful lot less pressure on him if he had us playing some decent football. You know, that would definitely relieve the pressure. We're playing shit football. It's boring. And, you know, until he starts having us play proper football, he'd have pressure on him. So maybe in 6 months it'll all click and we'll all be playing well. And I really hope so. But 32 over the last 32 matches, 44 points. So, and you know, and I'm sorry, I'm not enjoying the football anymore. I'm not enjoying it. I'm not enjoying watching the players rolling the ball slowly between themselves.
Hey Dave, is it worse for you than Conte ball or
oh God, no.
Or Mourinho ball?
No, so because both of those people are absolute fuckwits. At least Ange seems like a good bloke, mate.
No. I'm just actually talking about the on-field football for you, whether you feel it's actually any better than those two guys.
It's not as bad as those two guys.
That's fair.
But that's damning with faint
There was a
praise.
period under Conte where we were playing some really good stuff.
Yeah,
But it was a
true.
short-lived period, and you always knew it was short-lived because his manner of working, it was always risk-averse. It was always, you will be in the positions I tell you to, and this is what you can do. It's always very well drilled, and it just wasn't that exciting. There was a period where it was excellent.
Yeah,
But
it was in the first
I hated
season.
Conte from day one. I hated
Yeah.
Mourinho from day one. I didn't have high hopes for Nuno, but I wished him well. Since this, Ange is the first manager since Pochettino I've gone like, I really want you to do well. I think you've got the right idea. You're playing the kind of football that we want to see, or you're trying to play. You're trying to play the kind of football that we want to see. We used to have that with Poch, and you talked about Poch earlier. I felt Poch should have been backed more. I think Poch should have been backed for another cycle. He should have been told, right, any players you want to get rid of, we'll get rid of them, and we will try We'll try and get the players in that you want to get. And I felt it was just too much hassle. And I think again we're going to talk about Daniel Levy. The problem is now people are putting pressure on Levy, saying, "Oh, this is a bad move, and you've made mistakes and stuff like that." And we know exactly what happens when the pressure gets put on Levy. He sacks his manager. And if he sacks Ange, we are going back to stage number 1 on another project, and we're going to have to change over a whole load of players again because this squad is being built to play Ange ball, to play the style of football that Ange wants to play. And if we have to get in another manager and try again, it's going to be very, very difficult.
Totally true, Stu. Dave, what would you do to make us, given we can't really make any changes until January, at least, what would you do to have us play better football with what we have right now?
Pass the ball faster, harder, crisper. I think Madison needs a little spell on the bench, and I think
So who do you bring in?
Kulu is the man to play Madison's position. I think he's proved it over a couple of games now. But it's not necessarily the personnel; it's the way we're playing. We are playing so timorous. It's pathetic.
Who is that on?
Get Perryman in, Steve Perryman. Get him in the dressing room and give him a good talking to.
So who is that on?
It's on Ange.
It's on Ange.
And the players.
So
because I'm fiercely critical of Levy, but Ange has the players to do better than what he's doing at the moment. Okay, so I'm bitterly disappointed with Levy, and I think it's him that should be going. I think he should be gone now with that transfer window. But Ange has the players and the tools to do much better than 4 points out of 12 at the beginning of this season, and to produce much better football. And the passes have to be played faster, harder. You will not destabilize even a Leicester team playing passes at that speed to feet, or behind. You never will.
Charlie, what would you do in terms of, given what we have right now, what would you physically do, like, say, for instance, the Coventry game and then the Brentford game?
The Coventry game, whether we like it or not, is going to see, I would imagine, Bergvall and Archie Gray starting, with probably Decky, because I think Maddison probably will drop to the bench at this point, and I think you might even see Son take a rest, Solanke needs game time. But I mean, that aside, I mean, I haven't got a crystal ball. I can't see what he's going to go and do there. But if we can't drop out the cup, I mean, that's just going to be really bad for Ange. It's going to be terrible for Ange twice. The one cup that we can possibly win every year, like we go out twice in the third round. So he's got to take it seriously enough. And I think you'll see Dragusin come in with. I'd like to see Dragusin and Mickey van der Ven play together. I think that would be fantastic. I think you'll see a different sort of. I think Romero can be quite ponderous sometimes. You can start when he walks with the ball, it drives me nuts. At his feet, I just think it's like it's just so Barcelona. But you got to look back to what last year, the first 10 games. Why did we get it so right then? It was the surprise, the element of surprise. Teams just didn't know what to do with us, and so and I think that that's probably what Ange has prided himself on. And the Japanese and Scottish caught up with them after that. But the Premier League is way more wily. The manager, we're game at Chelsea, and then a bunch of injuries. Like we lost our way a little bit, and everyone sort of caught up. We haven't, in essence, stopped playing that well. Teams just adapted to play against us, and it's really frustrated us this season. I think it's gonna happen the way it's gonna happen. There's no, you'll see these young players coming out. I said a couple of podcasts ago, I think that Archie Gray and Bergvall will start starting Premier League games by November. I think they'll both be a shoe-in because they'll just offer something. They'll offer those through balls. They're a little bit less, they're less fearless. They'll offer that, those midfield bypassing balls. And I think that, players like Maddison, Bentancur, Sarr, who's just been anonymous, will have to up their game because they're going to be playing. It's essentially going to be two teams: the Premier League team and then the cup teams. And which one do you want to play for? I think we're going to have a great season. And I think that we will fortify with experienced players. I think we have bought all the youth we need for the next 2 or 3 seasons. So I do think that there's a plan there. My biggest fear, as I said, is that Ange won't get the time, and the typical Spurs thing will just take forward, and that would just be disastrous for the whole thing.
How long do you think we should have given Christian Gross longer as well?
God no.
We've got to give
Why? How long do you need to give them before you kind of go, actually, it's not working?
I'd say he's getting 3 years. Shut up.
Yeah.
All of you just shut up. He's here for 3 years. Why do you think we bought all these players?
Yeah.
You idiots. And if Levy was more transparent, I'd have more respect for him like that. Because he's hiding right now behind his options. If the heat does land on his head and he can feel it in the stadiums, Levy out and this and that, you can feel that. Then he chops the manager and we get a manager bounce, and that's what it's like, a dopamine hit. It's so. I mean, it's just abuse.
Stu, what do you see happening? Stu, what do you see happening for the Coventry game?
For Coventry game, I can see Dragusin starting. I can see Spence starting. I can see Basuma coming back into midfield and giving us, I think, what we were missing in the Arsenal game, because I think we really missed him. I think Archie Gray could potentially come in instead of
At
Maddison.
what position? What position for Archie Gray?
Play number 8. Let him shuffle back and forth. Let Kulusevski play the number 10 role. I think you play Odegaard from the start. You give Solanke another game from the start. And David's going to hate this. I think you play Werner. I think you play Werner from the start. And you let him do his thing. What Werner does, drops his shoulder, goes to the byline, cuts it back. You just give him the ball and you let him do that. Don't be stupid. Let's not go that far.
Unless they make him captain, who's going to be captain?
Oh, Mickey.
Because we've got Maddison. There's no way he's playing against Coventry. So
Mickey van der Ven.
No, Decky.
Hey, Stu, did you say put
Decky's captain the country?
Yeah,
absolutely.
But
did you say put
the big thing
on the bench for this game?
The big thing I would do is I would have bench options. I would have young bench options. If Lancashire is fit, I'd have Lancashire on the bench. If Moore is fit, which I believe he is, I'd have Moore on the bench. I'd have Bergvall almost guaranteed to come on in the second half. If we're doing at all well, suddenly you go, right, okay, we're going to make some changes. We're going to bring in some youngsters and we're going to give them time. And you give those players an opportunity. Because if we're not giving those players an opportunity, then we're holding them back. And these are players who we have bought not just for the future, but also to do something this season. And if we can get 2 goals ahead, damn, get out there, boys. Do something. Show us what you can do. Show us why you deserve to be in this team. And show us the difference that you're going to make when we play you in a Premier League game. That's what I would be doing. Beyond that, it's still going to be Vicario at the back. I still think we've got to play Doggy at left back. There's positions that are
Jed Spence at right back.
Jed Spence at right back. I think Jed Spence deserves a start. I'm a huge fan of Pedro Porro. I was not a huge fan at the start of last season. I think Pedro Porro has stepped up. He's become one of our most invaluable players. He's been so good. And he's one of the few players that's got some real personality in this side.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of beige, I think, in this side, and he's one player who's got chock full of personality. So,
would you ever see a scenario where Spence started and Porro played in front of him?
The Barry Mead suggestion.
Yeah, no, I also think I've also
suggestion.
mentioned that a number of times. So that would be a good option.
I'm just saying because I do feel like we're light on that right wing. Decky's clearly not going to play there again. I'm confused as to Decky's position right now. He's playing like two. What Decky's playing? What essentially what joint 10 with Maddison, or they're just switching around in that role?
Yeah. Or 8.
Which I think was a brave approach to take. I mean, we can talk about bravery, but playing Maddison and Decky together should have been brave. But I think what it did was it made Maddison just go right into his shell, and he was playing way too deep. We saw one of the things that worked really well at the start of last season was Maddison was breaking into the box and scoring goals and making chances for people. How much of that have we seen this year? And we can talk about last year. We can complain about the start of the result. But if you look at our head-to-head results, we're only actually 2 points down on where we were last year. And that's just from dropping the points in the Leicester game.
Oh.
We beat Everton. Leicester, we drew.
Do you mean against the same teams?
Against the same teams. Or the equivalent. So you swap Leicester for Burnley. And if you look at it, we're only 2 points down. It's not as bad as we feel it is. If you look at this and you go, right, we're way down the league. It's not great. We're 13th at the moment. It doesn't look great. But you look overall, our performances are generally better, I would say, even though it's not as attractive on the eye. And we need to get that last third movement. We need to get that last little building block into place, and we'll start doing things. And the vibes.
You've got a lot of straws there. You've just clutched.
No, I think you're right.
I'm a Spurs fan. Clutching at straws is what we do best.
You're right, though. Look at Deadwood that's been shipped. I mean, it's like not Chelsea levels, but for us, there was a lot that's gone out there, and I hate that word Deadwood because there's very good players, half of them. A lot of them made first team in the big clubs they've gone to, but we are going through a massive regeneration phase. There isn't a lot to back it up, on the bench right now, but I think we have evolved. I think you're right, Stu. I think with the fact that we are banging against this bus that keeps getting parked, it is progress, and again, it just comes down to like, why can't Levy just come out and go like, this manager, I'm backing him for the whole season? Like, why can't a chairman do that?
What, a vote of confidence?
Yeah, why can't you just come out and go? Why can't you just come out and go? Listen, this is a process. If you guys can't handle the fact that we're going through it, then you just need to go and take up another hobby for a moment, like, because this isn't going to change anything. It's our panic, it's our need for dopamine that actually gets these managers shifted out the door too quick. And I can't even highlight one because I don't think Conte or Mourinho were the right manager. I think Pochettino or Postecoglou is the right manager for Spurs. We're happy with the way he's playing, but there's a faction of well-regarded podcasts out there right now that are calling for some kind of very, very rapid change to make us all feel better. And that's just not, I don't understand how that's going to help us in the long run. I don't understand how we can't have emotional control over ourselves as grown adults to say, this is a guy who's come in with a new way of thinking. We've shipped out all this Deadwood. We're playing a different brand of football. We've got 70% possession, and we're just struggling to put the ball in the back of the net. It's so obvious. We've outplayed every team we've played this year already. We absolutely have. I can't think of one team that causes any, sustained problems. They've just all hit us on the break. And so that's something that will get figured out, as we get stretched.
We had Arsenal playing like Sean Dyche Burnley.
Right.
Yeah, right. You're right.
We just need to get control of ourselves.
That's it. It's all well and good people saying, "Oh, we need to get rid of Ange." Okay, look, if that's what you want to do, you can shout that as much as you like, but just answer the question: who are you going to bring in?
Right.
Who's available? You can't bring in anyone from the Premier League because there's an agreement across Premier League you don't poach from other Premier League managers. So who are you going to bring in?
January, I might be, if this carries on till January, I might be one of those getting angry about.
But who are you going to
and
bring
be
in?
saying, well, we'll look at it in January.
Yeah.
But I just, at the moment, I'm not convinced.
Because
Let's see.
The repetitive nightmare I have going through my head is Ange, who wants to play good football, who wants to play this brand of football that we want to see, ends up leaving the club. And Levy is there on the pulpit. He says, I'd like to announce our new manager. He's had a wonderful record, taking his nation to 2 successive finals. Welcome, everybody, Gareth Southgate. And I'll be like, oh my fucking Lord. That would just be, that would be horrible. I like, well done, Gareth Southgate, for everything you did, but no, I don't want you at my club.
He did nothing. He did nothing.
So, yeah, that's the thing. People can complain about Levy, but who replaces Levy? Or who replaces ENIC? Someone has to come in with a whole load of money and try and expect them to come in. And anyone who comes in like that, we're either going to be some Middle Eastern plaything which is there for sports washing purposes, which I do not want to be, and I think would probably be the end of my involvement of following the club, because it would just be disgusting. Or we're another property investment, Clear Lake Capital type, ENIC type thing, and where you're going to have exactly the same issues as we got now. Business people running the club as a business. So, I mean, what do you want? Do you want it to run as a business? Do you want us to be?
I want a bit of backbone, Stu. I want to see backbone from the top down, and I want people to back people that they've put in place and talk and address and back that. It should not all fall on the manager. No one human can take
Absolutely.
the brunt of 60,000 people for the decisions made at corporate level. They can't. That's not fair. If you're making a corporate decision on behalf of the club, you've got to come out and you've got to state it and be transparent about it. The fact that you can sit there. Massive respect to Daniel Levy for everything he's done to the club. Love the stadium, and he's entertained me multiple times. I've dined on him, and I really, really appreciate everything he's done. But I don't want to forego that.
You want that again,
Daniel? I know you're listening. Excuse me.
Anyway,
bottle of water.
But there cannot be this, panic button that gets pressed. Ange is a solid human. He's a fantastic, dynamic, next generation coach that Pep Guardiola talks about glowingly. He is the guy to take us forward on the limited, obviously, clearly a more sort of strapped budget than most clubs have right now, whether it's because of the stadium or whether it's just because of the way Daniel Levy operates. He's going this way. He has to come out and he has to say, fans, calm down. This is the process. And next year it'll be different. Last year we saw us tear people apart in the first 10 games because we didn't know what was happening. We've adapted, got rid of Deadwood, bought a bunch of players in, youth players. Next time we're going to go for more seasons ahead to sort of cement these guys in, and we will see a more complete team. I want to see that. I don't want to see a new manager come in with new ideas and get a bounce. Those 10 games were great last year. We were all having a great time. But we all knew at some point that it was going to come to an end. We had that feeling. It was just inevitable. So I just want to see the plan completed. And I think that's what happened. While I sat on this couch yesterday, I was nonplussed about the Arsenal result. Because I'm like, they are 5 years into a plan. And they've backed Arteta, even though he had 2 or 3 bad seasons. They pushed through that compulsion to actually sack him and go and bring someone in, even though the pressure was really, really heavy, So anyway.
All right. David's telling us he needs to go. So I think we're going to wrap this up. But I think what I will say is, as you said, Charlie, we're at the start of a project, and if we're going to follow this project through, we need to give him the time. Klopp was given time. Pep Guardiola was given time. Alex Ferguson was given time. Mikel fucking Arteta was given time. All of these people were given the time to do what they were. They went through rough periods. I mean, how long did it take Manchester City to win the league under Pep? 3 seasons? They would not have lasted at Spurs. So for me, we've got to give the people who have been entrusted with the reins of this football team, give them the chance, give them the time to actually show us what they can do, and just do it. The whispers coming out of the club and it's all you can say are whispers because that's all you hear on social media. There's never going to be anything concrete, because if it was, it would be the dreaded vote of confidence, and I don't think any of us want to see that. But the whispers are that there is no internal discussion of Ange getting the sack. Everyone is behind him. Everyone is behind the Postecoglou project, and they're looking long term, and they're going to make it work. I really hope that's right. And on that, everybody, we'll see you next time. It will be after the Brentford game. We're not coming back for the Coventry one. We'll discuss it after Brentford. And thank you, everybody. Ash, I'm sorry we didn't get to hear more from you. Next time, I want to hear loads.
No worries.
All right. Until next
No
time,
worries.
everybody.